Johnny,
What's up, man?
how you doing?
Good. Trying to be candid with you in the same position as if we're in a different. That's true art. This is true art right here.
You know what? Dr. Phil and Oprah and
Yeah.
Ellen do it every week.
They do it, and they get paid a bunch of money, and I'm doing it for free.
Yeah. So,
What's up with that?
I don't know. We don't have wardrobe either, obviously. I haven't.
Or makeup.
Yeah, I haven't done it.
Yeah, you need to get rid of these beady eyes.
When I
Yeah.
showed up, I thought, oh, Johnny's not going to have shaved. And I look at you, and you're all handsome, and I look like shit. So.
Well, reversal of fortunes. We could start a TV show that way.
Hey, John. When I first got here, you were telling me about getting it in-home care setup.
Yeah.
And I know you wanted to speak a little bit on that, and maybe share what that looks like, and for people out there who don't know about it, maybe you can shed some light on what the process is to do that, to make it happen.
Right.
All those things.
Yeah, and I've talked about this a couple times. There's visiting nurses, which I'm not a part of. Serenity House, not a part of, but I'm teamed up with Santa Barbara Hospice, and the team there, they're volunteers. 3 ladies come in a couple hours each a week and help me with my mundane chores. Well, through the last 4 or 5 months, we were diagnosed again, just to reiterate, we're going on our 2nd year of my diagnosis with ALS, and it's progressed to a point now where I can't bathe myself or dress myself, feed myself. Even though you see me moving my arms a little bit, my hands, there's no weight bearing in my arms. And so now it's come to the progression where I need full-time in-home care services. And today we started the interview process. So we think we've whittled it down to a candidate that's going to come in every morning, help me get out of bed, help me get dressed and showered, bathed, dried off, and help me get going as a human being. And remember, we started this whole thing is living with dignity. And I've gone through a tough time the last few days, seeing the depletion in my arms, the inability to dress, bathe, eat, do just open a door, open a jar of peanut butter, open a milk carton, open a bottle of water, turn the key on my front door. All those little things we just are so mundane, I can't do them anymore. So now the challenge is, and it's just right in front of my face, is that now, all right, you got Aspra, you got a choice. We can bring in a caregiver, a full-time caregiver, that helps you do the human things to try to keep the dignity level of day-to-day living going. Well, there's a reason why I've never been married. and
Johnny is about to go full disclosure now. Everybody better brace themselves.
There's a reason, I've got commitment issues. I've got commitment issues, and there's been, and all of a sudden I'm going to have someone in my life that I have to share I have to share everything with. I don't know that I can do it, and I'm going through a hard time. You're laughing at me, not with me right now, and it doesn't. But think about it. I'm unsettled. I'm unsettled.
Yeah.
I went through this dilemma. Should it be a woman or should it be a man? Because there's intuitions or assumptions on either side of the fence. So we found a man that has worked with ALS patients before. He's got experience. I'll meet him for the first time tomorrow. I'm nervous. It's kind of like a date,
Trying all sorts of new things.
Try all new things. Now I'm making light of this, but you guys, I'm freaking out. And I freak out with morbid humor sometimes and sarcasm. But think about it.
Yeah.
This is a new chapter in my life. And again, going back to square one, this is part of the process that I drug you all along with me from day one. And our mantra is, okay, now that you have ALS, Now what are you going to do? And how are you going to complete your life cycle with dignity? Because as this thing keeps going downhill like a freight train with no brakes, now we're into a whole new ball game, and I have to come to grips with someone dressing me, making a cup of coffee for me, bathing me, toweling me off, brushing my teeth, shaving me, opening, feeding me. I mean, getting food to my mouth. I drink everything. I drink expensive scotch and expensive wine through a straw. Do you know how that humiliating that is for me? I hate it. But Aspra, what's the alternative? All right, we won't give you any scotch or a steak or a glass of wine. Or I can say, all right, I'll swallow my pride and I'll let you cut my steak and feed it to me like a child. I feel like Benjamin Buttons. Benjamin Buttons was that Brad Pitt movie filmed in New Orleans. He was born an old man, and as he grew younger. Remember that great movie? So anyway, that's all I got to say about that. It'll be sobering, and I'll keep you all posted on how I get through these next couple weeks working with someone on a day-to-day basis, letting someone into my life and developing a relationship with someone that's not by choice, but it's by necessity. So,
well, Johnny, I certainly appreciate you sharing, and I think I think sometimes sitting here listening to you share, it puts a lot of things in perspective about just some of the little day-to-day things that we all take for granted. And
yeah,
I think that we were kind of talking off camera about some of the challenges and we face, that I think a lot of times our problems would be minimized in life if we would stop and take a moment and be grateful for being able to open a can of peanut butter or being able to open a door.
Oh man,
and I appreciate you being so candid and bringing that to life, because I think that so many of us have it so good, in comparison to so many things and how bad it could be, and I think that your candidness and your openness is going to really help people who are going through something.
I
like
hope
this
so.
Similar.
That's why we're doing this. I hope so.
My hope is that for those of us out there who don't have ALS, but we've been blessed with, for all intents and purposes, quote unquote, whatever normal is, that we can be able to look at all that we do have and be grateful for that. Be grateful that we have that, and I think that in of itself brings more love, more joy.
You couldn't be more right. And in closing here, if God were to say to me, if the universe, if Buddha, if who's ever running this science experiment we call life, if he or she, and I've always had an opinion that God's probably a woman, she'd have to be, If she were to say to me, Aspra, I'll stop the progression of ALS right now in its tracks, and you can live another 20, 30 years, but you're going to live in this state, I'd take that bet. I would take that. Walking around with flaccid arms. I know there's some people out there, laughing, and he said flaccid. That's the only word to use, is my arms and my legs are becoming 100% flaccid. I mean, they're worthless. But if God were to say to me, Aspra, I'll stop it in its tracks, I'll create a miracle, and miracles do happen, but the rest of the next 20 years or whatever left of your life will be with whatever quality you create, but your body's not going to be any better, I would take that bet with glee, with bells on my toes and a whistle in my nose, as they say, and not look back. But as it stands today, that's not going to be the case unless a miracle happens, and I'm hoping for a miracle. But this thing will keep, freight train fully loaded with coal with no brakes, going downhill, and you guys are coming with me. Like it or not.
Johnny's the captain. Thank you.
You were in trouble if I'm the captain.
Hey, Johnny, that was awesome, man. Thank
you.
you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.